candid conversations, unfiltered opinions, and humor with AVAG Beck's podcast.
Hello, welcome again. Today, I have the pleasure of having Mr. Marcel Clarke from Marcel Clarke Network. So, Mr. Marcel is an entrepreneur. So, if you're looking to start a business, thinking about starting a business, and you don't quite know what you're doing, or you did not anticipate it being a 24/7 work, because that's sometimes what it shakes up to be. This will be a conversation for you. So both business starters, current entrepreneurs, retired entrepreneurs can learn a thing or two from this conversation. So I'm very excited. Welcome, Mr. Marcel. How are you today?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh my goodness, I'm grateful to have you here. And we're just looking for all the juiciness you can give us today. So, entrepreneurship, what made you embark on this journey? What was that bug like? What color was it? When did it start biting you? Like, what was it?
Well, entrepreneurship runs in my DNA. So my dad was an entrepreneur. So watching him as a young child, he had a couple of different ventures, but his largest venture was in Philadelphia, where he owned a fleet of corner stores. And I would always be there during the summertime watching him run those businesses. And it was just a real treat. At a young age, I was that kid that, I could walk in the store and get it and have, someone make me a Philadelphia cheesesteak, which is classic for all of those people in Philly, best cheesesteaks on the planet.
Evolve?
Yeah, and then I could, the arcade machine this is back when they had arcade machines. The guy come in there, to collect the coins, and he'll put 100 credits on the machine, and my little friends would run around and we could be on the game all day. So yeah, just watching that level of freedom that I even had as a child and my dad exemplified during that period of time, it was just destined for me to walk into, the shoes of an entrepreneur. It was inevitable.
That's beautiful. A lot of people don't have that role model, either directly in family or even in the neighborhood, right? So what would be your feedback to somebody who may want to step into the entrepreneurship journey without really having a foundation of sort to base their experience or the expectations on, in a sense?
Well, entrepreneurship is definitely something that you should only explore if you really, really have that urge inside of you to pursue something that you want to create. Like sometimes things in our society can become fads.
Yeah.
And a lot of people try to pursue things because they hear, oh, you could become wealthy, rich, la, la, la. The only way is entrepreneurship. Well, that's actually true. At the same time, everybody's not designed to be an entrepreneur. So that's the first thing. You have to check yourself. If you really feel like this is something that you want to pursue at that stage in your life, and I'm talking to everybody that might be, fresh out of college to someone who is just retiring from the workforce. I'm speaking to everybody. It's there for you to have, but you definitely have to want it. Number two, educate yourself. So whatever the subject matter is, if you want to open a cupcake shop to an automotive mechanic shop, do your research. That's like the foundation. Like understand every aspect of that business. Learn as much as you can. Go to as many meetups and networking events and visit a shop or two, find you a mentor. Like you totally have to submerge yourself in entrepreneurship. If you really want to do it, you need to learn every aspect of it. That's number two. And then number three, if you commit, then get your mental state of mind correct because you're going to go through a lot.
Right.
Entrepreneurship is not easy. This is for the toughest of the tough. Like you have a lot of peaks and valleys. You have a lot of challenges, tremendous amount of problem solving, and you have to believe in yourself. Like mentally, you have to believe that this is what you are, meant to do. If you can really start there with those three things, and a lot of that is intangible, right? I think a lot of people look at entrepreneurship and the first thing they think about are the X's and O's. How good am I at accounting and marketing? And those things are all learnable. But again, the things I've touched on, those are the things that either you learn them or you don't.
Right. I love it. So let's talk about the fad aspect of entrepreneurship, because, we live in a social media era and every entrepreneur is on social media. And we're talking about the overnight successes and how you can make so and so amount of money in less than 24 hours type stuff. But a lot of those entrepreneurs don't really hone in on the mindset aspect of things. So when people actually get in to expect a different one result and they get something else, there's usually a degree of angst to it. So if somebody's looking to start a business or get into entrepreneurship based on what they saw on social media, in addition to that research, what else can they really sit in within themselves to get into that mindset? Coaching is that big piece which you talked about. What if they don't find a coach right away? What should that process be in finding a mentor or coach and sitting in within themselves to determine if, this journey is really for them, what is involved in addition to the sparkly stuff?
Well, social media is interesting. I actually have a love-hate relationship with social media. For those of you who are listening, I have my own YouTube channel, Hustle and Grow. So just look it up, Hustle and Grow, Marcel, Clarke with an E. And I talk about, I've actually interviewed many successful entrepreneurs, and I've also talked to influencers that really are influencing based on nothing more than research. They've never owned anything. So, so that's what I'm saying. I have right now on social media, people will see someone and they're positioning themselves as if they're successful, but it's very hard to drill down on if they really are successful, because what they're doing is they're the master of the art of looking successful. That's two totally different things. So that's my number one thing with social media. Like, I want people to start dialing that back and stop looking at all the imagery and just believing that there are all these quick ways to become wealthy and rich. Again, e-commerce is real. Influencers are real because they do get paid to influence other people to purchase things. Those things are real, but even your best influencers, they have been working for, close to a decade on these channels. And they're a small percentage of the most successful people on social media, like YouTube platforms. So again, you're looking at, a very small percentage of people that have actually been successful. So I guess my overall point is, first of all, just pay attention to the medium itself and stop really putting so much stock in what you see, and really you should reshuffle and think about how you can get started, right? And again, with all of the information that everybody now has access to, let's just go with AI, Chat GPT, Microsoft has their own platforms. You can really literally, if you prompt them correctly, ask really good questions that can push that the system can actually generate really good answers, and those places can be your starting points. So with that much information at your fingertips, you have a guide already that can help you grow. So for instance, back when I started, my first company back in the mid 2000s, a business plan is a mandatory thing to have if you're trying to launch a company, right? But to do that, you would either have to find some really incredibly complicated software, or you would have to find an attorney, blah, blah, blah. Well, again, I just pointed it out. I mean, now I've done it before now. Like, for a marketing plan, I plugged it in a platform of my choice, and it pretty much spit out a plan where once I looked at that plan, I was like, marketing gurus have a problem now. Because this system just gave me some really, really in-depth, step-by-step answers that I could actually follow to get to where I need to go. So that's why when I started with, if this is for you, you don't really have any excuses. You have way too much information at your fingertips. It's just really about making sure that the validity of the information that you can ascertain is worth drilling down on. But yeah, I'm answering your question by just saying that, with the whole social media thing, just focus on your basic logical steps to push you in the right direction. And again, the information is there. So you really don't need anybody. And the information will lead you to people. But again, now that we have so many ways to network, meetups, Zooms, you can jump on these platforms and network with multitude of people from your desk. So, to me, there are no excuses. Now, again, I'm not saying that these things are going to make you successful, because as an entrepreneur, I've learned that I believe the intangibles like tenacity, perseverance, mental endurance, and really being a leader and following your own path and not listening to what everybody else says all the time, right? So again, that's social media. Everybody's listening to everybody. Everybody's having a great day. Yeah, whatever, man. Like you have to follow your own lane. Like you have to believe in your own self. Everything is me. Now, I'm not saying I don't listen to people. Of course, I listen to my attorneys. I listen to my marketing people. I listen to for my construction company. I listen to my general contractor. These people know more than me, but that's my point. Like over time, my network is comprised of people that I know are doing it, and I know that they know more than me, right? I'm never the smartest person in the building. That's asinine, right? Some people walking around now think that they can cure the world. It only takes one man. Yeah, that makes no sense. Like the best of the best, that's what I learned. The best of the best always surround themselves with people that are much smarter than them, people that can give them really good answers, people that can push the ball forward. So that's what you need to be focusing on if you're starting from, ground floor. Make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that are doing it. One of my favorite terms is if you're hanging around 9 broke people, you're bound to be the 10th one. Guaranteed, right? So let's flip that, right? If you're around 9 really successful people, you're bound to be the 10th one. You want to surround yourself with people that know what they're doing, that you have, like-minded people that are aspirational and have business goals, and they want to move forward. That's the nucleus of everything. Because if you're not surrounded by those type of people, then every time you throw out your dreams or every time you throw out a goal, you're going to have some naysayer there trying to knock it down. And that's just how it works. So yes, that's like the starting point. If I was like on social media and I was trying to figure out what I want to do, yeah, I would really focus on the basics and a really good starting point.
Great answer. Thank you. So as an entrepreneur, when we talk about success looks very different depending on your stage of business. However, in the general world of things, success is usually measured in profits, right? Success is measured in how much money you made or you're making or you will make, projected to make. So for you as an entrepreneur, what is your definition of success when it comes to your various businesses? You can just pick one, right? What does success look like for you and that business?
I believe specifically for entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, startups, the goal is always going to be 7 figures, no matter what in sales, right? And there are a lot of businesses now that are doing 8, 9 figures. That's way down the road. But you want to crack $1 million in, bottom line revenues just to feel comfortable and be in a comfortable space. Your number is your own number, though. I have a really good friend, Marcel. She's like a really big guru in the beauty industry. And we've been talking over the years. And I remember we used to have conversations and I was like, man, if I could just get couple million here, couple million, blah, blah, blah. Last time I talked to her, she's talking about, yeah, I got to crack 100 million. I was like, Marcella just keeps she just keeps on going. I'm over here like, listen, 20 million cash would do me just fine at this point. Like, I can have all the assets in the world, but my number 20 million, I'm good. So my point to you guys is like, your number is your number. There's some people that might be cool for $100,000. Honestly, your lifestyle is your lifestyle. What you want to achieve individually, personally, that's all up for your determination. It's not about what other people are thinking. It's about you set your number, your goal, and that's successful. So again, I've been in franchise systems where they do this on purpose. They just kind of like, this is the most successful franchise in the year. They're making $10 million a year. But you have some franchises in that same system, they're cracking $700,000 a year. And those owners are happy. They might be in a different place. They might be in Hawaii, but they're making 700,000, right? That 700,000 might go a little bit further. So like, to that owner, the one that's making 700,000, they're like, listen, I can pay my bills, I can pay my employees, I can pay myself. I'm not in debt. I'm past break even. I'm making money. I can, go on a trip here and there. That $700,000 might be just enough for that person. If that person has defined that as success,
right,
I'm on board with that. So that word, again, the number is irrelevant. It's what you believe is successful. Like people like Jeff Bezos, I mean, his money is astronomical. If you ask him what's successful, that'd be an interesting question, right? Because his money is unlimited. He's like the ultimate entrepreneur. So it just, again, it's really going to always be based on your personal goals, which is the one thing I love about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs come in every size, shape, nationality, color, everything, right? We all are totally different. We all have a lot of the same threads though. Like we just are determined to push forward and win, and we can't be stopped. It's just like we're in it. It's like we're like Rocky. We're like no matter how hard you hit us, no how many times we get knocked down, we're going to get back up. Like that's one of the common threads I always see amongst entrepreneurs. But yeah, like that number thing is just like, maybe that's for rookies.
yeah,
But again, you heard me come out break. Like I don't think I've ever done anything and didn't want to at least be grossing $1 million in revenues because the number sounds great.
right,
but it depends on your margins too, right? I can make $1 million in commercial cleaning, and I'm pulling down a margin of 20%. So that's 200K that's going to my bottom line. But somebody else could be running a business that's making $1 million, but they're only pulling down 10% margins or 5% margins. They're barely making $1. So that $1 million isn't playing the same way. So that's the reason why I go. Again, numbers are for advertising and marketing. I think a lot of entrepreneurs like that part go, yes, my business makes 7 figures, bruh. Like they like to throw that out there. Yeah, my business makes 7 figures. Like, I guess from that standpoint, it's attractive because people go, oh, 7 figures. But no, when you're in the game and you understand it, that number could be whatever number that individual entrepreneur is shooting for.
right. And that's a very important conversation to have frequently because, again, just like you mentioned, those numbers are really marketing numbers. So anybody that is trying to get you to sign on to a course or whatever is going to use that number, right? Maybe reality is that you reached that number, but in the time frame where the other people reached it may not be your time frame because of either the work you're putting into it, the demographic that is your niche, or whatever. So, keeping up with the Joneses in the business world doesn't really lead to a lot of good mental health. That's
It
why.
does, because the numbers keep getting bigger. Now everybody's throwing out $1 billion. Like, really, people, just do the research. That you're talking about 1% of our population. That's almost like we're talking about lotto numbers now. And everybody's running around, I want to be a billionaire, a Billy. And you're like, listen, again, that's all marketing. That's all, again, social media hype to make the person look like they're really trying to do something. But, again, my formal education, I remember business 101. One of that professor's first things he marked up on the board was make your goals achievable. And that always stuck with me, right? Make your goals achievable. I'm not running around talking about $1 billion, people. Like, like that's just a big number, and you have to have a lot of things flow your way, and that's just a totally different level. That whole Jay-Z $1 billion, yeah, that's just a different level. So take that in consideration, because when you do, if you set goals that aren't achievable, then you're setting yourself up for failure.
Sure.
That's what you need to understand there. Like
Yeah.
if you're doing that, I prefer, a lot of experts know set low expectations and then exceed those expectations. I'm all about goal setting, but make sure that they're reasonable.
Absolutely. It's just that acronym, the SMART goal. Make your goal smart, so bite size, so you're not setting this lofty goal, and when you don't meet it because the expectation is just unreasonable, you don't get crushed. Because I see people go through that phase where, well, this was the goal, I was supposed to meet this goal, but remember, you're a beginner in this niche, you still have a lot to learn, you still need to build a whole audience, you still need to make a name for yourself. So setting that lofty goal, how is admirable. Don't get me wrong. I admire you for it, but how realistic is it, right? So make your goals smart. So Marcel, I want to go back to, you mentioned your formal education and how you grew up watching your father, who was an entrepreneur or was an entrepreneur, and that lifestyle was something that you wanted for yourself. Do you remember maybe talking to your college mates or your friends at the time about your intention to become an entrepreneur as opposed to going the corporate route where everybody was vying for like maybe a corner office somewhere in the business world?
I've had a very unique life because my mom was an educator, right? So all my aunts and her sister, they all have master's degrees. Like it was something that in the household was going to be mandatory. I wouldn't even dare tell my mom that I wasn't going to be able to achieve that because she would have just had a fit and I don't know what would have happened. So since I
Right.
never even explored that road, my point is that I was always destined to also get my education because
Right.
even though my dad was great, he only had like a sixth grade education. So eventually it all caught up to him. But having said that, when I was in college, I was really just focused on my education, and like everybody else, I just wanted a job because I was just programmed in college to think that once I graduated, I would just get a good job and get married and get a house and the same thing that like 99% of the population is programmed to believe that takes that course. Like get your
Right.
education and it's going to lead these things. I think when I opened with my dad and me being a child, that means that a seed was planted early. So, it's the things that you don't really pay attention to. So seeing him at that young age, it was already planted early. So once I achieved all my educational goals, and I was actually, because I tried to do the 9 to 5 thing, and I tried to actually go into corporate America. So I had many different jobs that were on, executive levels over time. But when I was working in those positions, I can remember I was working for Catholic Charities at the time, and I was out playing golf with one of the executives, and it was a beautiful sunny day. And I guess back then I was probably making 70 or 80K a year. And I'm standing up there about to make my swing. It's a beautiful day, beautiful golf course. And literally I was like, this can't be it. Like this right here can't be it. Like I was not even feeling fulfilled. I felt like, I don't know. I just didn't feel happy. I would
Yeah.
think at that age, I was probably in my late 20s making that type of money. I would have been like, okay, like I've arrived.
Yeah.
It was everything opposite of that. And I felt like I was pretty much wasting my time. And that's when that seed started to grow. It was like, it's more to my life than this. I knew that. I was like, there's just more to my life than this. And the transition started at that point because I knew that it wouldn't matter what I could achieve in that world. It's not mine. 9 to 5, punching the clock. I used to hate going to work, first of all. Like, and I did not have a hard job. That's the funny part. Like, I had a really cool plush job. I was an executive. I could get there when I wanted. I had a really good manager, but I hated people telling me what to do. Right? I would literally be listening to a manager and in my head, I'd be like, why am I listening to this guy? Like I could never really do the 9 to 5 thing. So I was lucky I would probably get to work at 9:30, 9:45, right? So I couldn't punch a clock. It was just everything was off.
Yeah.
For me, everything was off. And I was like, that's what I mean. When I was up there, I was just kind of like on that golf course, like, this is probably as good as it's going to get, and this is not me. So I just made a transition, I turned, and that's when I really started. Some other things fell into place, but that's when I really started to say, okay, what am I going to do next? And then my next move was to purchase a franchise. Because I still had a lot of education, but I was still scared. See that, hear that, people? I was still scared to kind of like try to do something from scratch. So, quick plug. So in my book, Hiding in Plain View, go find it, Hiding in Plain View. It's on Amazon, it's everywhere. I talk about that because when I graduated, I was graduating with my buddy, Brian Bowles. And Brian was like, this is for my master's degree. We walk across stage, we go back and sit in the audience, and this guy goes, yeah, I can't wait to get my PhD. I was like, nah, man. I was like, nah, man. I was like, I've had enough of school. I'm burnt out. I've satisfied my mom's goals or whatever. I was like, I'm going to go do something different, And I knew that, like, if I brought after I decided I was going to do my own thing. So I had been squirreling a lot of money away over the years. That's another thing, people. If you really want to be an entrepreneur, I was saving about 75% of my disposable income. Easy. Like, I was living like I was a bum. I mean, every kind of dollar I could get, I was squirreling it away in the bank account. So when it was time for me to buy my first franchise, that felt like that was going to be my PhD.
Right.
That felt like, okay, I get to now see a successful franchise show me their behind the scenes system, like what it takes to build this franchise. And it worked out brilliantly because it was a perfect thing to do because they taught me a lot over the 5 years that I owned that franchise. I learned everything from customer relations to accounting to employee relations to marketing, doing it all myself because just because you have a franchise, that doesn't mean you're going to be successful.
That's right.
So I built it over time, but during that time I had to learn a lot. But yes, once I owned that business for about 5 to 6 years, you could have put on my PhD cap because I was like, okay, now it's game time. Because once I learned that, that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. People used to ask me that all the time. What do you want to do? I never really thought about a specific business. I just knew I wanted to be in business. So the thing about an entrepreneur is once you own one business, you can own many. Because you understand now systems and organizations. And if you really maximize your potential, again, I have a commercial cleaning company, I have a real estate development company, Millennium Strategic Investments, and I just signed a deal with Marco's Pizza. They're coming to Virginia. That's a franchise. So I'm jumping back in the franchise arena, but we already have like a 3 location deal in place. So again, I'm able to do these things through experience.
Nice.
And I'm not pigeonholed. Just because you're an entrepreneur, you can own anything. That's the whole point here. And if you notice, that one thing I do love is if you look at some of the most successful entrepreneurs on our planet, they own multiple businesses. That doesn't mean they're in it. They're not in there, people. I'm not going to be in there flipping pizzas. That's not going to happen anymore. But I know the system, the people that need to be in place to make me money. So now I can own that business along with other businesses that I own because I understand systems and I understand exactly what it takes to execute on this franchise. So entrepreneurs, we're smart enough to understand that you have to have multiple revenues streams. Okay, people, like you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into one business. I'm saying that you should put everything into your first business. Yes. When I bought that first franchise, I remember talking to some of the veteran franchise owners that were making like $10, $20 million. They were like, Marcel, those first 5 years, you're going to be underwater. I was like, well, what does that mean? You're not going to be able to do anything else. Period. That's all. It's like everything you do is going to go into this franchise. Every minute, every second, everything you have, every piece of energy you have is going into this franchise. I didn't get it at the time until 4 years later, 5 years later. Then I got it. I was like, okay. So yeah, your first business, you're going to have to go all in. You're going to have to give it everything you have because that's the only way you'll be able to remember. Let's be honest, people. 90% failure rate, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think any of us would get in a car, plane, train if it was a 90% chance that it's going to crash, wreck. Like, we wouldn't do it. All right. So my point here is, if you're going to do this, understanding that, there's a high level of failure in this industry, then you have to give it everything you got.
That's right.
Everything. So even if you fail, see, here we go. Remember, I went back to tangibles, the intangibles. See, my personality is like, if I give it everything I have and it fails, I'm okay. It's cool.
Yeah.
I've failed a lot in life. That's the other part of like being successful. I felt way too many times. I'm cool with that, right? I'm just cool with it if I give it everything I have. Then I just feel like, that's when my religious part kicks in. It just wasn't meant to be.
That's right.
It wasn't in God's plan. That's cool. You just have to be able to accept that. And again, see these intangibles I'm pulling up, like you just have to be able to understand that failure is part of the process. You have to be able to accept it, and you also have to be able to move on. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. I'm going to move on to something else. But again, I gave it 100%. No excuses. Oh, it wasn't this and that. Like, yeah, look. Business isn't about excuses. It's about results.
Yeah, very true. I read something, I think it was like last year, and I really started committing to this. Well, I have that personality too. I'm going to throw everything at it. So if it doesn't work out, I know I did my part. I think just bringing that mindset from personal relationship, friendship, family, dealings, whatever, bringing that mindset helped me in business as well. Do all that you can. And if it's not working out, walk away. That way your conscience is clear. You did everything. And when you talked about failure is a part of life. You think about a baby. When a baby starts walking, how many times do they fall when they're trying to get up, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, that was a failed attempt that they just kept at it until they were able to walk. So failure, somebody put the acronym first attempt in learning. You are learning. You got something from that. It doesn't matter what it was. Something came out of that you're not going to repeat. Okay, that's the life of a business owner. So thank you. You left plenty gems, Marcel. So I love how you talked about your experience in corporate and how that light bulb, whatever you want to call it, like, this ain't it. It's got to be better than this, right? Yeah. So that process of building something and buying your first franchise, how was that transition for you? The reason why I'm asking this question is that, with, again, going back to social media and people actually being very open about their entrepreneurship journey, the people that can afford to cold turkey quit their jobs and just focus on business. But again, if you have experience in business, especially when you have not made a name for yourself and you're building up, it takes a while to break even, right? In most industry, I don't know what industry everybody's looking into, but in most industry, it takes you a while to establish your footing and break even. So what is your take on people quitting their corporate jobs just because they absolutely hate it to start a business, right? As opposed to building while they're still working to get to a point where they can now kind of like commit fully. What is your stance on either decision?
Yeah, in my real estate development company, I come across a lot of realtors, right? And I'm using this for example. So you do have realtors out there that basically have a job and then they do real estate on the side, but they're not as successful as full-time realtors.
Okay.
So I've always come to the conclusion that you have to be you're either in or out. Okay. Now, I understand why people get paralyzed when they have a job and then they just can't make that jump, because in all honesty, you have a guaranteed paycheck there. You probably have a lot of responsibilities on your plate already. There's a sense of security when you know that you have a certain amount of money that's going to be paid to you every other week. So I totally get it. To jump from that to the unknown, I mean, I think that's asking a lot of anybody. So my thing is, the motto should always be, if you're truly committed to starting your own business, you can definitely start working on your platform while you have your 9 to 5. And you really should be doing your research to understand exactly how much money it's going to take to launch your startup. And you should also say, I'm going to save 6 months worth of income. So for the rough times, but you have to make the jump at some point. You're not going to be able to kind of like continue to toggle. For 1 second with the whole remote workforce, I was actually saying, well, wow, that's such a great opportunity because they can kind of work from home and then they probably could start a side hustle and probably could do both. That's a different paradigm. And again, it would depend on what kind of business you're talking about running, right? So if you're working from home for the government and yet you want to start your own consulting business, you probably could pull off the two, right? But again, that's, pushing it. That's kind of pushing the envelope because again, when you're an entrepreneur, it just takes, you have to be able to cover all bases. You want to be in the business because I guess here's my point. There's something about when you basically are now, once you leave that job and now you're totally reliant on this business, it's that survival mode kicks in.
Okay.
It's another gear that kicks in that once I left and I was no longer working for, Catholic charities, whatever, and now here I am starting this franchise, I was like, oh, I have kids. I have to make this work. Like that survival mode when you let go, and it's like it's either sink or swim. It's real. That's real. Like that motivation that'll be there for you to survive will kick in, and it will help you push forward in that business because this business is going to help you eat. This business is what you're totally relying on. This business is the one that you told all your friends about. Hey, I'm starting my business. All of that is energy, and it's going to help you wake up every single day and focus on how to make that business successful. So you need that push because as long as you're feeling comfortable over there with your little paycheck, you just, like I said, the part-time realtors, they're okay, but they're not chasing down leads.
Right.
They're like, hey, I work for so-and-so. If you want to buy a house, call me, But my full-time realtor friends, they own it. Like they at every networking event, they're shaking hands. They email blast every freaking second. Like that's their livelihood. So like there is no negotiating it. It's like, this is what I do. So there are two different things there. And again, there's no such thing as a part-time entrepreneur. You're either in or you're out. So yeah, that's my perspective.
Very interesting. Very interesting and worth listening to. I got something from it, just so you know. I absolutely love this conversation. So in your cohort of friends, right? The reason I'm asking this is because people feel like they have to bring everybody along in the journey, right? In your cohort of friends, wherever this entrepreneur journey happened for you, do you think, or in your experience, right? Is it the same circle of people? Because you gave the analogy earlier. If you hang around 9 broke people, there's a high chance you're the 10th one, right? With your drive and knowing that drive can drive a lot of people crazy, the people you started the life journey with, are those the people in your close circle, or has your circle now encompassed people on that frequency and the frequency you're currently traveling? And how did you manage that? Because guilt is a thing that people feel like, okay, because I'm successful, I got to bring everybody along with me, but not everybody's willing to work as hard as you are, right? So how was that balance and that dynamic for you?
Wow, that's a really good question. I tell you what, this is why I love hip hop. We've all watched very successful people become successful, and then they have an entourage of 20, 25 people around them. And then years later, they're broke.
Yeah.
So think about that, people. Like, you can't carry everybody with you. You're not responsible for making everybody happy. You're not responsible for sharing your success. That's nonsense. This is a marathon we're running here. We're not running the sprint. Okay, so that's that. 2, over time, I've learned that different circles. My personal friends are my personal friends. We most of us have known each other for over 20, 25 years. my closest friends, we grew up together. Then I have my family, which is first, right? That's my circle. Like those people will never change. They know me. I know them. Most of us are like-minded. They're successful. They're not entrepreneurs. Some of them work for the government. Some of them do their own thing. Most of them are definitely corporate America. But we just get along because we're friends. That's just a totally different circle. That does not intertwine with my professional circle. They're just too so. I don't do business with friends, first of all. I don't do business with friends or family. I learned that the hard way. The very, very hard way. So that's my mantra now. Like, we don't talk about business in my personal circle, and I definitely don't do business with friends. It's just a recipe for disaster, people. Like, I can go into the story, but we don't have enough time. But again, I learned that over time that you just keep them separate. And then in my business circle, it's always been about evolving. I'm always trying to meet new people. I'm always curious about new things that are going on in my industries. I'm always constantly just trying to find what's next. I'm always in that search. It never changes because business is always evolving. So the people around you are going to evolve. But yeah, I mean, I have a really strong network in every category of people that are really good at what they do. I have a really strong team of lawyers, and the lawyers aren't my favorite, but they're required people. And it's not for just litigation and lawsuits, but they're very smart in certain areas, and you need to be able to take their advice and just roll with it. So you need that guidance. I have really good people in marketing. I have really good people in a lot of different circles, but they're good people. We're strong. Again, with those networks, I can tell you this, a lot of the people that are in my business networks, I really do like them.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just business. Like, we really do get along. And that's my thing. I always try my best to get, to bring people into my circle that I really can relate to. And then lastly, though, what I would definitely say is I'm always going to have a commitment to my culture, right? I'm always going to have a commitment to Black business.
That's right.
That's the first thing that I do, right? Like, anybody that has a service or a product, if I like it, I'm buying it here first. I'm not exploring externally. And anybody that hears that that's offended, that's nonsense because, again, I don't see, when I go to the Asian shop, I don't see anybody in there but Asians. I don't see any Black people. When I go to the gas station, I see Pakistanis own gas stations. I don't see any Black people behind cash registers. My point here is all of the other cultures have been doing this forever.
Yes.
That's called cultural building. They build in their culture. They're hiring their people because they want to keep the money in the family to make their tribe stronger. We should be doing the same thing. I have some of my coolest friends are white, Asian, Indian. I go across the board. Just look me up. So this is not a race thing. No. What I'm saying is cultural building our people. You have to look out for our people. And on that note, in business, our people need to provide very good services and products. Okay? Like, you can't complain if people aren't trafficking your business if you're doing subpar service.
Yes.
Like, I guess I don't like that. Like, if you're going to do something, do it well. That's been the core of this conversation. But if you want to be successful, you have to provide quality services and products. You can't be providing subpar services and complaining about people not trafficking your location or your business, because everything matters. Everything matters. I literally I was looking at, I received some ridiculous tax bill from DC, and I knew I had to call into one of the government agencies. I already knew that I was going to be talking to somebody. And I already knew, because I had been down this road before, that I guarantee the person on the other line was going to have attitude. Unfortunately, young Black lady answers the phone, and I started with, "How you doing? I hope you're having a great day." She just had an attitude. And I'm like, why? You don't even know me and you coming off attitude. I'm pointing this out to you guys because everything matters. Nobody's going to come back if they don't have a good experience. No matter what business you own, you represent the business. The moment they meet you, you are your service and product. And if people meet you and they don't like you, they're not coming back. So again, my people, you guys have to step up your game. You have to bring the best of the best. You already know that's how it is for us in this planet, specifically right now, when they're dialing everything for us back.
Yep.
You're going to have to bring it now. You have to be the best of the best. And you have to have great customer service, great product, great everything if you want to be successful and be here for the long term. This is just a fact.
Yes. True. All true. And with that, I want to, the other side of the coin, right? Going back to the rapper analogy you used, there's this mindset that people get successful and they leave the hood, right? Unfortunately, we've had people who's gone back to develop their communities but end up needing tragic ends, right? So how important is it for us who have succeeded in our own right, okay, whether it's education, whether it's business, whether it's community building, whether it's networking, connecting people, whatever it is, how important is it for us to reach back and mentor somebody, especially the youth, okay? Like this young lady that you're talking about, it can be a bad habit that she started from the person who trained her. She's like, okay, just this is how you respond to people. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing, right? And that continues, okay? That speaks, you're the frontline person. That speaks to the agency. That speaks, you're opening the door for somebody coming into the house. So how important is that career growth coaching or even mentorship within an organization or even outside of an organization so we can present ourselves well? Because there's certain stereotypes that do not always ring true, but sometimes they ring true. So guess what? It strengthens that stereotype, right? So how do we work on mentoring one another, right? Especially the youth, right? So that we can present ourselves the way that we present ourselves. We are who we are. We have our own culture. We have our own way of speaking, the way of addressing people. We cannot erase that. However, we can improve somewhere, So how important is that?
Yeah, I mean, if I stay with the rapper analogy for a second, though, I would say that when those rappers decided to basically return to their environments because they wanted to basically, I guess, bring people along,
Right.
what they fail to realize is those environments are incredibly dangerous. So your safety has to come first.
Yeah.
If I wanted to piggyback on that, then what I'm saying is the very first thing that everybody needs to understand once you're successful is you've most likely outgrown your old circle. So it is your responsibility to figure out how to give back, but you should definitely figure out how to give back, keeping your overall safety and place in the world in mind, because everybody doesn't like to see you in a successful space. That's just fundamental Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The first pyramid, the bottom of it is safety. So if I wanted to move past that, what I'm saying is everybody that is fortunate enough to be successful has a responsibility to mentor the next generation. That's just the way it is. I think that's the one reason why I started my show, and the reason why I wrote that book was because a lot of times on my way to where I am now, everybody acted like it was huge secret sauce. And if they shared it with me, I was going to be impeding on their success. And I'm like, bro, I mean, I barely know what I'm doing. I'm just asking for a little guidance. I mean, I'm not telling you to give me KFC's recipe. I'm just asking you a couple of basic questions. And it was like pulling teeth.
True.
And it's like, because I'm Black, I don't know if it was exclusively just Black people, but now where I am, like, I'm just going to be totally different from that. I'm just going to make sure that I create platforms and make myself available. So when that young person calls me or sees me or has a question for me, I'm going to give them actionable information and really good guidance. And I think we're all responsible for that, just because, I believe in karma anyway, right? And I don't think karma is just the negative karma. Everybody always talks about that. Oh, see, that's what you get. It's karma. I think good karma is karma too, right? Like, if you're fortunate enough that God gave you a platform and you're successful, then you're responsible for educating those that want to be in your arena. You're responsible. It's like it's a rite of passage. You should help young people and give them guidance and show them what it would take to be there. Because like I started, I'm going to help a couple of people that want to be entrepreneurs become successful, but I'm also going to help a couple of people save their money because they're going to listen to me and they're going to go, yeah, that's not me. And that's the same thing with youth. Talking to them from a realistic standpoint, like this is what you need to understand before you come in the game. This is what it's going to take.
Yeah.
And do with it what you will, but I'm not a dream killer. And that's my point. Like everybody has dreams. And if you can help somebody achieve their dream and you don't do it, to me, it says a lot about you.
That's right.
It's again, I don't know what anybody's individual personal goals may be, but there are a lot of people out there that are famous and they're sad and they're not happy. And then, people love to focus on fame, but there are a lot of people out there that are famous. They'll go, yeah, this isn't it. So figure out, you have to definitely help everybody that you can. I'm not saying that, I'm running 20 charities. I'm not saying that at all. But I do have a platform where if I can help young people achieve their goals and if they have questions and they need a moment of mentorship, I'm there. So again, to answer your question, I think everybody that finds themselves in a successful space, you should always be willing to give back. Look at Bill Gates. I mean, he's a perfect example. He's always trying to do this. They give billions of dollars away. For what? Because they want to help the planet. Mm-hmm. So it's just what you should do.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. If you have something to offer, I'll offer it. I think we get in the space sometimes where some people feel like what they have is not tangible enough to be an offer, or thinking that it's not all glitzy. People may not want it. You may be surprised. If you know how to crochet, do something. Social media, get on there. You never know who is looking to learn. If you have life experiences, advice for, the younger generation, offer it. Not everybody's going to take it. Not everybody's going to appreciate it. However, there's maybe that young lady or young man who lost a father or mother and does not have that father or mother figure in their lives. And they're looking for guidance that may benefit it. So don't play down your experience. They say experience is the best teacher. Don't play down your experience because you don't feel it's tangible enough. There's somebody actively seeking it. Just offer it. I'm so happy for this conversation. Marcel, where can we find you? Let the people know. Socials, website, all of that stuff. Mr. Entrepreneur.
Yeah, the easiest way to find me is Marcel, Marcel, Clarke, CLARKE.co. Not .com. My people couldn't get the .com, but .co. So MarcelClarke.co. And that'll take you everywhere you need to be. Everything I have is on that one platform, and all of my IG, all of my different ways to find me. My book is on there. Just look it up, MarcelClarke.co. You'll find out a lot more about me, and you'll find ways that you can reach me too.
Absolutely beautiful. And we're going to link that in the show notes. We'll let you know everything about this incredible human and, look things up, reach out, talk, look at all the things he's working on. He has a YouTube channel. Listen, you just never know what conversation will speak to you, would address whatever question that you may have. And please, 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 if you have a dream in your heart to want more for yourself, yes, go for it, but educate yourself. Know what it takes. Not everybody's story will be your story, both success and failure. Don't take on anybody's story as well, both successes and failure. Go on your own path, craft your own path, and, walk your own path. And be good humans. Try. Let's support one another, all right? Well, so something I usually ask my guests before, we end a conversation is that I usually ask for a golden nugget or a few golden nuggets. I mean, you left quite a lot, but what would you like to leave our listeners with? Something that they can chew on a little bit as they continue on their journey, either in life, in business, or career?
Always believe in yourself.
Yeah.
No matter what, no matter who says anything about you, and people that might not believe in your dreams, and other people telling you it's going to be too hard, blah, 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 blah. believe in yourself, your dreams, your aspirations, find your lane, and get that tunnel vision and just go after it.
Beautiful. See, I got nothing to say. That was beautiful. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. I pray somebody got something from this conversation. Please, please, please find this gentleman, follow him, listen to him, listen to his ecosystem, and, see what you can get. For people that have lived a life and have done the thing, it's better to kind of take a look at what they've done as opposed to going blindly. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Let us know what you got from this. Let us know what you think. All right. Take care of yourselves. Be great. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Avik Beck's podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. It really helps us out. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the discussion. So join us on social media or drop us a message. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and keep pushing the boundaries of your world.